Welcome to WP-Tonic, episode 68, Creating Online Training, part 2, and we have Kim Shivler back. Pretty close.
Got it.
It's a hard, I don't know why, but this is a hard name. Anyway, let's get back to the show. I'm so happy to have her back because I was going to come on and talk with Jonathan about all the trials and tribulations I'm going through right now on setting up my site. And what I'm doing is I'm creating content plus battling Infusionsoft. And the last thing I need is really this setting up of both. You know, do we need plugins for both the training or the course plugin plus the membership plugin? Do it. There's so many ways to go. So what we're doing today is Kim's expertise. We're going to go in and look at plugins, just plugins, and then we're going to look at SaaS. So we got 3 parts today. Kim, it's all yours. Jonathan, I'll listen. I might throw a few comments in to show us some of the problems I'm having.
You're almost right. You're almost right, Bill. You're
right
almost.
Here. That's my problems right there.
Yeah, you're almost right, Bill. I think you got it a little bit mixed up. And then next week we are going to have to listen to Bill suffering. Yeah, so we're going to be talking about your experiences of developing.
Next week, I thought we were talking about SaaS next week. Just so people know, is Kim
Bill, can you? This week we got our beloved Kate. Next week's you, and then she's coming back the following week.
Oh, Kim. Oh, you'll be back on the roundtable.
On the 19th.
She will not be on the round table, Bill, but she's coming back on the 18th to finish off.
John produces this show. I don't produce his show in the schedule.
It's quite good that you're not really good. Right. So thank you, Kim, for agreeing coming back, because basically I don't know too much about this subject. So having an expert back to do the help us on the next few shows is a great resource, Kim, and thank you so much for agreeing. So we had some excellent feedback from our previous interview when we talked very globally about all the options, and we're going to delve into more detail now on some of these WordPress plugins, aren't we? So you got some excellent news. The plugin, which I can never pronounce, Sensei, whatever. How do you pronounce it, Kim? Sensei, the plugin which I can never pronounce. You've delved into this a bit, and you got some observations. Shall we start with them first? Because I'm intrigued to find what you have found out.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with that. And thank you for having me back. I am happy to be here and appreciate it. So for those of you who, if you're not sure of everything we're talking about and all of the iterations we're going through, please check back to the last episode, because we went through a lot of other options and the starter pieces to that. One of the things when I talk about plugins, I tend to talk about WP Courseware and LearnDash, and we're going to get to that in a minute. But I've skipped Sensei quite frequently, because when I first started in 2012 and they didn't come out till 2013, it really wasn't where I needed it to be. Now, Sensei, for those of you who don't know, is the training courseware product created by Woo Themes, which is WooCommerce, which is now owned by Automatic, the company who owns WordPress. So I think they're going to keep getting better and better stuff. When I first started with them, as I said, or when I first started with courseware, I kind of skipped them because they were just getting started and they didn't have some things. So since I've gotten back into really not just teaching my own courses on the 2 or 3 plugins that I love, but really teaching other people and helping people flesh things out, I had to jump back in, buy a new copy, and really dig in. So having said that, we've got some really exciting things with Sensei. For example, you can have multiple instructors. And normally LearnDash is my other go-to, and it's the only other one where you can have multiple instructors. So if you are setting up a small school or classroom, as opposed to being a solopreneur where you're going to be the only one building the course, this can be. So Sensei is very powerful in that in the past, the only platform I had to recommend was LearnDash if you had multiple instructors. WP Courseware, people hear me talk about. I love it. It's very easy. It's very drag and drop, but this is for a solopreneur having 1 or 2 courses and maybe a membership site on their platform. But if you want to have multiple instructors, up till now, LearnDash was the one I recommended, but I will say that Sensei has that functionality also. Sensei also has one really cool functionality that I haven't seen from anybody else. And that is that when you're on your My Course page, which shows all the courses you have access to, there's a little button that you can click on and send a private message to your teacher. And so that's really cool. If you're working and you're not sure of something, as opposed to putting something in the forums or finding an email, you can actually send a private message. Having said that, people who followed me, and if you've listened to the other episode or the last episode, you know that one of the things I talk about is what does it take to charge for my plugins and manage, or my courses, and manage access to them. So with WP Courseware, it doesn't manage the payments and the access itself. I either have to use a membership plugin or WooCommerce. And for the membership plugins on that one, I really like either Paid Memberships Pro or MemberPress. And on the next segment, we can go into which one and why. With LearnDash, it can do all of that itself. You don't have to add another plugin. You're not dependent on another plugin. With Sensei, I mentioned before, they are owned by Woo Themes, which is WooCommerce. So they are dependent on pretty much selling through WooCommerce. So you now have the additional complexity of adding WooCommerce. Not that it's difficult, but it is an additional plugin. And just like with WooCommerce, if you're familiar with it, there is a free version, and then there's a lot of other extensions that if you want to add them, they can cost you anywhere from $50, $60, $70 to $200 per extension. And you do run into that with Sensei, where if you're trying to do certain things, yikes, now because of the way it integrates with WooCommerce, you're going to have to add another $300 to that extension to keep up every year and make sure that it's all working together, which is a little bit more complexity.
Yeah, it's a bit like swings and roundabouts, really, Kim, isn't it, with the extensions? Because yes, some of them, vary in price, but you're getting a lot of choice as well. You know, when you're kind of going into the WooCommerce world, that there's a lot of additional plugin functionality available. So if you're looking, there's some crucial element that you're looking for. There's either developers or there's already a plugin that's available. But what did you think of the actual way it dealt with courses? Did you get any impression about its quality of how it developed and the options that it offered? It
is more simplistic than LearnDash, so it wasn't giving you as much functionality. One of the things when it came to dealing with courses that I really did not like is that it tied quizzes to lessons. So if you wanted to change that quiz, you had to go in, change the lesson, and move it. Whereas, so for example, one of the, I love WP Courseware. Everyone who knows me knows that. One of the reasons I love it is it's very modular. So I can make lessons, and I can make modules, and I can make quizzes, and I can drag and drop them where they belong. And, sometimes, particularly if you're doing an early adopter program, you're looking at it and you're going, I thought this was going to be really good here, but working with my students, it really would be better here. And having that drag and drop functionality, as opposed to having to go in, remove a quiz here, go to another lesson and put it in, I find some real value in that.
Right. Ease of setting up initially, do you think it's like in middle way between the two that we previously talked about, or is it leans to the more easier side, the courseware? Then what's your feelings about that?
I think that WP Courseware and Sensei are about the same as far as setting up, because they both are dependent on something else for sales, either WooCommerce or a membership or something like that. So you are talking about two plugins now for my basic setup.
Awesome. With that, we're going to go to a break. Well, now it's time to thank our sponsors. Thank you, Share the Oil for Northern Nevada. We really appreciate the help. Without you, we couldn't have shows, or we couldn't improve on our equipment and systems and processes. And also, I have a new product launching, and this is what I'm going through right now, my membership site. And it's 2 Have Success at 2havesuccess.com. right now we're testing out the merchant site. So for $11, you can get what I call is the first course, which is Netcasting 101. And I actually got the domain netcasting101.com, but I haven't pointed it yet. So we're building the courses. The pre-launch is $11 this week at least. Well, actually, this will be up next week. So it might be up to $23 by now. But anyway, it's still a great value. Without further ado, let's get right back to Kim and Jonathan going over these good plugins about membership sites.
That was great, Bill. I just want to point out to you, Kim, that the reason why Bill needs to do his adverts because he has to pay for his domain names.
I have my own domain company too. I have my own registry.
I think we probably are going to run out of normal domain names, Kim, because I think Bill's bought every single one in his memory.
One last, so we got to make a point when he's talking about that. I love domains. It's an addiction. Some people have it. I'm sorry, I've got that addiction.
There you go.
That's my launch.
See, Kim, Kim, it all makes sense. Of course, it doesn't. But
I give him a discount, though. I own my own company.
In the perverted brain of Bill Conrad, it does make some sense.
It makes sense.
Jonathan is really good. He only has like 6 or 7, which is good discipline.
It's really.
But he has hyphens in there.
I love you as well, Bill. So back to it. So it looks like they developed a pretty good. I'm trying to sense how you feel about it. So after delving into it, what's your gut feeling about it? Where do you stand? Will it be something that you'll be using a bit more, looking into a bit more?
I will definitely use Sensei some. I mean, and part of it, my business is building and teaching online courses. So I am going to keep my hand in multiple areas of the pie. It may not be the right thing for everybody. And part of my platform, as everyone who knows me knows, is find the right plugin for you. Don't just go with a guru who teaches one thing and then you find out it doesn't do what you need. So yes, there are absolutely some things that I think Sensei is great for, particularly if you're already a WooCommerce shop and now you want to add some courses. Yeah. Why wouldn't you start there? Yeah. It's already fully integrated, etc. Yeah. Still, for if you are really looking for the quickest, fastest, easiest way, and you don't need a lot of disparate silos, I'm still going to probably point you to Paid Memberships Pro and WP Courseware because it's fast, it's easy, you can spin one up quickly. But it's not going to have as much functionality as some of these others. Right. And then if you truly want the biggest bad boy monster of functionality, I still think LearnDash is going to be the one you've got to go to.
Yeah. So this individual, we both know, Kim, this guy that keeps on buying domain names everywhere. Would he have been, and this crazy bit of software that he's trying to learn as well? Do you think he might have been advised to gone down the courseware route, plug-in route, to get himself started? What's your feelings, Kim?
I didn't ask him enough on if his courses were going to be disparate or
I'll
not.
Ask that as we go to the break.
But I would say probably. Yeah, I would probably have put him since I haven't heard anything with him that he wants multiple instructors. I probably would have put him into WP Courseware, and then depending on whether or not he needed disparate courses or not, we would decide on would our membership backend be Paid Memberships Pro, MemberPress, or would we do WooCommerce? I tend to lean towards either Paid Memberships Pro or MemberPress, just because it adds more functionality.
Jonathan, you sort of answered the question I was going to ask before we went to the next break, but let me explain. Mine's evergreen. All I'm doing is I'm providing MP4s, basically streaming video of some sort. And when I'm testing it right now, I'm using private lines out of YouTube to test it. But then we'll move over that entire block when we open it up live. And I've got people buying in right now for $11. They're going to get the full-blown product. Yeah. Which is, I'll probably open it up at 35, but eventually I'll just drop it at 79 and leave it there as I build my other courses. So what we need streaming, we need video, PDFs, and that's it because it's Evergreen. You drop them down.
But even with being Evergreen, that doesn't mean that having a true courseware product is not going to benefit you for your student perceptions and interactions. Right. You can have absolute Evergreen courseware using a courseware product. And I think what's going to happen is as people become more and more astute to the fact that people are offering courseware, we're still a little bit in the Wild West of courseware, but as this grows, people are going to all of a sudden look at it and say, a video and a PDF is just not a class. You need more.
Well, that's what some people think, but it's enough for like a real estate agent to work when they want to work. Yeah. I mean, I loved what you do. First of all, you're doing you're doing college level work. What we're doing is we're just giving quick demos and instruction and laying it out to get going fast. For example, Netcasting 101 is basically taking this amazing platform of BlabIM, creating a BlabIM netcast. It's really a netcast. When you do Blab, it's a netcast. Putting it up into podcasting or iTunes, which is pretty easy now, and then into YouTube and then a blog. And that's it. It's a simple, straightforward. You can do it whenever you want to. About 45 minutes worth of good content, quick, and then followed up where if they want me to, I can build their, I can build their simple web page site, or they can build it, whatever they want to do. Or they can talk to me, and I can have, like on Saturdays, every couple of Saturdays, we come up with a round table for people to ask questions.
Yeah. So
that's the bottom line. That's what we're doing on this first course.
Yeah. Thank you for enlightening us, Bill. It was fantastic, Bill.
I'm not billing SaaS stuff. I'm not billing SaaS.
So actually, to get back to it, Kim, actually, what Bill was saying, what I was thinking, Blab itself, this new technology of Blab, in a way, will affect training in a way, because it's also a methodology where you can have students drop in, have group discussions. It's more easy to use than Google Hangout to some extent. So it's a moving target, the kind of learning courseware environment. So there's still probably new technologies and new methodologies that are going to have to be integrated into it, isn't it, Kim?
Absolutely. And Blab, I think, is going to play a huge part of those of us doing teaching. But what we have to remember is Blab is, at least for now, public. So if I have a group and you're paying me a lot of money to come to my private class, I can't necessarily air all of that on a Blab where now just anybody can jump in and get that information, where the other people are going, wait a second, I just paid for this. So I think Blab is awesome for training, but it's going to have its place in where that training is and whether or not is it paid for training or free training, because that's going to have a difference, as well as, for example, for what I do, where a lot of my training is technical step-by-step, and I need to do screen grabs. I can't do that in Blab.
So when we're getting back to WP courseware, let's say you're dealing with somebody that has utilized WordPress before, but they haven't actually developed a course, and they're going to WP courseware. Where do you think some of the biggest hurdles? Is it basically that they really need to look at some online courses and write down some things they like, and then think about the structure before they totally jump into it? Is that the hurdle which they really got to think about?
Yeah, I would say if you're technical at all, particularly if you've already had WordPress experience, the biggest hurdle is understanding how to create and deliver content. Because you can know the software inside and out. If your content is crud, your content is crud. So it's a double whammy. You have to learn the software, but you also need to learn how to make good content. And that's different than just writing a blog post. If you're writing training content and you're going to have a variety, you're going to have some video, you might have some audio, you're definitely going to have some text. I definitely recommend quizzes and homework,
right?
Because we learn what we do.
This is just see if I'm getting this. Yeah, then time Nazi. Bill, just start out, Bill. We're getting to some really good juicy bits here.
Well, okay. For our second commercial break, we like to invite our guests. Kim, shoot.
Hi, everybody. Thank you. This is Kim Shivler, and I focus on teaching people how to build online courses and membership websites with WordPress. You can find me at White Glove Web Training or howtobuildanonlinecourse.com. I look forward to seeing you there.
Very nice. And I'm going to interrupt Jonathan because we cut him off at the last, but I want to step back. And you're talking about tools that you need to train your students. And we're talking about Zoom, webinars, GoToMeeting. What do you like? What do you like to use? Join Me, whatever, to help your students. And how do you use those platforms?
So personally, what I have found really valuable is Zoom.us. And that has given me some of the best one-on-one with screen sharing as well as recording. So since what I am teaching, I'm not teaching just high level, big concept, a few slides. I am teaching step-by-step how to use something on a computer. I find that screen sharing is really, really valuable. And being able to screen share while someone else can interact. So webinars are great for that. I am here and I'm talking and I have a big audience. And that for my sales presentations, and I use that for my weekly meetings where I am just sharing with everybody and maybe taking a few questions down in the side comments, kind of like we have here on Blab. But when I really want to be able to interact with someone, share screens together where maybe I'm sharing a screen and handing it off and they're sharing a screen and we're going to record that, Zoom.us is the thing I have found the best. I think I have the $9.99 or $10.99, maybe $15 a month. I can have up to 50 people in that meeting and do the sharing. And it's just a great way for me to almost replicate back in the day when I actually walked out in front of a classroom every day and was able to work with people and help them one-on-one. And this is the closest I have found to that in a virtual setting.
Jonathan, you're doing some of that now with your SaaS product with real estate agents.
Yeah, it's Zoom. I was using GoToMeeting, but I was just trying, but I'm going to ditch it and just stay with Zoom. It's really good value. The only slight criticism I have with it, but the majority of it is superior than GoToMeeting, is the scheduler isn't as it works, but it's not as well thought out as GoToMeeting. But that's the only thing that I would say the screen sharing, the downloads experience, the stability, video quality. I would say almost all of those, it's superior than GoToMeeting.
I would agree. I would agree. And you're right. The scheduling is not as robust. No. That's the way I would describe it. But definitely the quality, and it does not bring my computer to a screeching halt most of the time. It does
work. When I first did it, it didn't. But when I kind of poked around a little bit, the scheduler does work. It's just the interface, the UX design isn't as nice, basically. And Join, I think the main Join Me is a great product, but it just does not compare to Zoom. I
agree, and especially for the price.
Yes, it's their pricing structures that make it unattractive to Zoom. Well, the Zoom package is very attractive, considering most of the functionalities there on the free products, so you can't really complain about that, really, can you? And then the next band up is very reasonable, isn't it?
I think, like I said, I don't do the free only because I think you can only have a 45-minute meeting, and I usually have longer ones. In fact, I use Zoom, like, for example, if I'm teaching a class, which I'm teaching right now, I will do something and say, like, on a Saturday, hey, guys, I will be in the Zoom meeting room. Here's the link. I'll be there for 2 hours. And what I do is I just go work on my computer, but I'm there if someone's working and needs help. So I just use it even for one-on-one support that way. Yeah. And it's very functional for that.
Right. Well, Jonathan, I just want to wrap up.
Real fast, we have time for one more question from Jonathan. Kim, how, your contact information, and we'd like to each of us ask that last question. Sure.
I just want to quickly go through the thing you touched before our last break, really, which is security. I just want to put this to you and see if you agree with it and you want, build it out a little bit, is that I think security is important. Obviously, if you spent a lot of time making unique content, obviously, you've got to have some security. But I found in other areas, photography, dealing with professional photographers, other rights issues, you can also take it too far because you can make it, the security that you're imposing makes it difficult to actually access and use your training material. I think my experience, if you're dealing with individuals that are determined to rip off your materials, they will do. So I think, yes, you do have to have it secure, but don't take it to a level where it becomes damaging to the actual student or user experience. What's your feelings about that, Kim?
Absolutely in agreement with you. First of all, if you're going to publish anything, there's a level of insecurity to it. So I mentioned Vimeo. I love Vimeo Pro for my video distribution because they really do have good security. I can say you can only post this on this domain. So for example, my howtobuildanonlinecourse.com, this video can only be there. But the reality is, if I have ScreenFlow, I can buy your membership, launch the video, and tape it, right? If somebody wants the stuff, if you publish it, it can be stolen. So you're right. You have to, I believe in taking, take level responsibility for security. I obviously want to make sure I'm doing everything I can not to get a brute force attack, because that could bring down my site and then nobody can get in and all my students are in trouble. So I want to do what I can, but you have to absolutely know that if it's out there, it can be stolen. I do recommend then that you do, as quality copyrights as you can, so that if something is stolen, you have a leg to stand on to get it taken down.
Yeah, and I just also look at your comment. Obviously, you've got the Digital Rights Act. You do have to do some searches on some of the leading torrent sites just to see if somebody. Where I think you've got to put your foot down is if you developed a course and somebody said, it's got it up on a torrent site, or they're actually made a duplicate site and they're actually trying to sell your course. And then you've got you can approach their hosting provider and use the Digital Rights Act. Is that correct? Isn't it, Kim?
Yes. Now, know that I'm not an attorney, but I have had to go through this before, so I've done it. Yes, you can approach the Digital Rights Act. I still recommend, if it's something that's highly, you've really spent some time in it, go ahead and spend the time and the money, which is $35 with an online search, to do a true copyright, not just legally everything I post that I write is copyrighted to me. And a DCMA will usually allow you to take something down. But if someone is actually making money and you want to go against them, you need a real copyright. So I do recommend people do that.
All right, the Time Nazis.
I see.
I got a new name, the Time Nazi. He calls me all sorts of names here.
The Wizard. Spins I can't even.
Here's the rules here, Kim.
On a live show.
Tell us how you get a hold of. I'm going to hold off my question this week because of the time, but I'm going to let Jonathan have one last question. And there's only one. You can't reply back to it, Jonathan. Then we're going to say goodbye. But before that, we want to know, how do we get a hold of Kim? Kim's going to be back.
Well, I'm going to ask you one last question, Kim.
Wait. How do we get a hold of her first? What's the contact information? Then we'll ask.
So you can get a hold of me at either howtobuildanonlinecourse.com, whiteglovewebtraining.com, or here on Blab or Twitter, I'm at Kim Shivler.
And don't forget the show notes for WP-Tonic here today. You can go to WP-Tonic and get all the show notes. And the show notes will be good because I think you're writing a lot of them, right? You don't know that, right? No.
I'm writing an article. Am I writing the show notes too?
Well, we're going to split it in half. And
okay.
So that was my last question. Jonathan, one last question. I'm going to say goodbye.
Goodbye. So do I get my last question?
Yeah, one last question. You can't reply back, though. You can just ask her a question. You can't say anything after that other than goodbye.
All right. So one area we haven't covered, Kim, is have you got any tips or suggestions about how people can produce content, basically, how they can find content which they can repurpose, reuse, because it's a bit daunting when you got that first bit of content, and it's a bit like writing that first page of a novel, isn't it? So, got any tips?
Yes, I do teach a whole class on that, so there's a lot of it. But the biggest tip I'd have initially is do a big brain dump. Just sit down and write out everything you possibly think you know or want to talk about. Most people, if they do that, will find 2 or 3 or 5 courses just within that information that they know that they could share with somebody.
That's great, Kim, because I'm not allowed to say anything more apart from the time Nazi,
He's shutting us down, Jonathan.
God, he's been
Goodbye.
He's been so annoying.
What's that?
It's been
sound
so
of music
today.
Oh, do you want to do the sound of what?
Sound of
So
music.
long, farewell, Avidas, and goodbye.
We should tape that. That could be the end of all our shows. Have you seen?
No, we are not taping Kim doing an outro for all the show.
And we're back. We can't let the show go without saying hi to Pebbles. Hi, Pebbles.
Hi, I'm Pebbles the Wonder Cat.
Well, folks, another show down of WP-Tonic. That's the 3rd show today. We've got one more show, and it's going to be I got another timeline later on today. So thank you out there. I forgot to thank the folks who are in the live audience. We always want to thank you because you really add a lot of spice with your tweets and information. So aloha.